the Central Weekly, a weekly podcast from the Central Podcast Network. We've got episode 61 of the Central Weekly, and we have two new guests in our podcast studio, but also we have Jon Henninger.
And Jared LaCrone.
That's right. And so we're continuing this look at our ministry, but we call it a ministry spotlight per se, or not per se, but we are a ministry spotlight. And the last couple of weeks, we've had some of our staff and our pastors just come in, give us a little update about what God is doing lately in their ministries and through Central Christian Church in and outside of the context of the sermon. We're just mashing it all up. You know, that's what we do around here. We mash. So let me introduce our guests.
Speaking of mash.
Yes. Wow. That was,
Good job, Jared.
That
Subconsciously.
You, but as a good co-host, you picked that right up.
Yeah, you led to our young
So we have Hayden Poninski, our young adult pastor. Hayden, say hi.
Hi. Glad to be here.
That was so enthusiastic.
You told me to do it.
Elisha Smith, our middle school pastor.
Hey.
See, she didn't need to be told. She just was right on there. So this is going to be an exciting thing because you guys really do have a lot going on in your ministries as of late. And in my opinion, Jon, two of the unseen ministries that maybe a lot of people don't know about what's going on. Maybe.
Yeah.
Kid Depot gets all the love.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we both agree with that.
But here's the cool thing as young adults. So let's talk about the sermon because it's all about, we're in our third week of our Build His House.
Yeah.
And
I appreciated you changing the
that?
way you enunciated it based on the way it's spelled.
Because it's a capital H in our book.
It is, because this house is his house.
It is house, and it is his house.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with somebody else's house.
No.
And here's what's cool. For week one was...
Foundation. We talked about faith being the foundation of really everything that we do.
Week two was...
communities, but not in like a person-to-person sense, in a person-to-town sense.
I like that. And that was... But what was that part of the house?
He talked about it being the front porch.
Front porch. And then now, relationships.
Relationships, which is more, I mean, it's very community-oriented as well, but more on the person-to-person community, not the person-to-town community.
I like this. And I don't know, that we're recording this on a Friday, and this is a busy Friday for the Central family.
Very.
Hayden's doing a wedding. And what after this, Hayden's going to go to that. I'm going to go drive a bus. Elisha's going to get ready for communion. And then Jon's got the sermon.
You'll be the most well-dressed bus driver.
I will. I can't wait for the comments. Right now, it just didn't work for me. I got to go directly from the bus route. I should have taken off, but I didn't. I'm going directly from because they have a 4:30 wedding. Who does a 4:30 wedding?
Is there a chance you could bring the bus to the wedding?
There is a chance.
No, that could be fun.
And then just drive everybody at the wedding back to work.
That's what we talked about, the Central Caravan. And Hayden said he's just going to let the Central people out first from the wedding. He's going to announce like two.
Yeah.
I think that's smart. But the people might be wondering, who's getting married? Nick Malone, one of our residents, and Kirsten McGowan.
Yes.
So they're going to be Kirsten and Nick Malone. It's going to be good.
It's going to be good. She doesn't have to change her initials.
No, she doesn't. That's true. Well, and here's what's going to be happening about 4:32. I'm going to be crying. I just know. This is a wedding that you know these people, you love these people, and I'm
doing it.
And you're going to have to keep it together.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think I think you will.
Cry?
Yeah. No, I don't think you'll cry.
Oh, I don't know. You have a baby and then just emotions come out of nowhere.
I know.
Well, everything it does, like to your hormones and all that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about relationships because Jon, this relationships is your. We're not going to say mantra because that would be a Hindu word and we don't like that.
Nice.
But motto, it would be an English word. Take us a little bit about the person-to-person relationship and of the relationship matters most, because a lot of people might just think one side of it, but you want to make sure people know the dual nature.
Yeah, so we talk about it early on in the sermon. Basically, I think a lot of times we'll say relationships matter the most because they lead us to the relationship that matters the most, and people get this exclusively evangelistic perception of it. You know, and
which is okay,
which is great, but there's more to it than that. You know, I mean, like relationships matter the most, and they lead to Jesus. In every regard, you know, I mean, like there's that evangelistic component for sure. There's that part of your relationship that can introduce someone to the relationship that matters the most, but also it can help form us as we walk the relationship that matters the most. You know, I mean, I think that everybody in this room is married, and you know that your relationship with your spouse helps you. It's the old, I'm not always happier, but I'm holier. I'm not always happy, but God is making me holy through it. You know, every relationship has those parts to it, where God is using our relationships as a forming tool, a shaping tool in helping us become more of the people he wants us to be.
And I think we can agree, family life, our marriages and our kids form us the most, for sure. Right? Don't we agree?
I mean, it's the people you spend the most time with. Makes sense.
Exactly. And you, John, you said, I mean, you don't have all sunny days with Sarah. I mean, we don't have all sunny days with Mike and Brooke and Maria, but yet they're forming us and they're making us better people.
Yeah.
And that's what our relationship should
And all of our relationships should look like that.
Yeah. And it really, when you were going through the run through, I thought of Relationship Matters, and it's definitely the different directions that meaning kind of brings, because you have a directional up because you're talking about your relationship with Jesus, but you're directional sideways too, in our relationships with other people. So
yeah, that's good.
And it's last year's maybe 20. When did you debut that? You kind of were a little like a couple people told a couple people, made a couple shirts.
I mean, that was even before. I mean, that would have been
before you started.
It was August 2019.
Thank you,
Wow.
Hayden.
So that was before COVID.
Yes.
Okay.
That's when
It
I
was
like.
on his door.
Yeah, that's when
I
it
think
started.
there's something there.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was on your door, and you kind of had us like, hey.
It wasn't a staff thing yet. It was like Hayden said. It was just like I feel like that could be something. And it was on the door for a while. And didn't you hang it on the door?
Yes, I hang it on the back of the door. You took it off and hung it on the front of the door.
Yeah.
That was good. So that was basically what we're looking at. That's 2019, we said. Okay. So Elisha, you are, I'm not going to say your age, but you've been around Central Christian Church your entire life.
This is true.
You're the only one that had a diaper changed in this building.
That's also true.
Unless you guys know. Okay, so here's what I want to do. 2019, relationships matter most. And again, it's not like that's not our vision statement or our mission statement.
So again, that doesn't really kick in for us corporately until 2021.
Because you had the 3 sermons in 2021.
No.
No?
In 2020.
Oh, wow. See? That's crazy.
In 2021 is when this really kind of became a thing for us.
So this was something I was going to do in my communion 2 weeks ago, but I cut it out. But Elisha, we're going to test you a little bit. Okay. We're going to give you mission statements from the past of Central Christian Church, and I want you to approximate what the date is. I did not prep her for this.
I was going to say, I feel like you should have given me a
I
heads
should have.
up.
Nope, but
Because
I want to see.
asked if there was anything I needed to prepare for this,
I
and
said,
you
nope.
said no.
Absolutely not. Well, this came all of a sudden. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you the mission statement. It's going to jog a memory for you, and you're going to give me an approximate date when you think that at least started or was around. Okay?
Okay.
We'll go backwards. Okay?
Okay.
Ooh, let's do that.
Yeah, probably.
Let's do that. I like that better. See, co-host. Okay, 2004, loving God and
Loving people.
wow. See, good job. Okay, 1998. Okay, are you born yet? Yeah, you're born.
Yeah.
Where this is gonna be kind of an easy one, but kind of an obvious one. Where Jesus Christ is. Where Jesus Christ is.
Where Christ is
Central.
Yeah.
Where Jesus Christ is central. 1998. So we're gonna keep going back. 1973.
I was not born.
So,
this is not fair.
Do you want
I
to
wasn't
text your
even
parents?
around.
Your parents are around, so maybe they told you this.
Okay.
Your parents were definitely in like the pictorials that were, because I saw them. 1973. The church on the
Move
close. Route 37 is a what?
on the
church on the highway. How is that a missional mission statement? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, that's more descriptive.
It's what we are. We're literally a church on the highway. But 1973, maybe
no.
they were like, oh,
Is
we got to
it-
compete
is it
against
just
the
like
interstate.
his house where it's highway.
Yes, you are right.
They're going places.
In
Yeah.
the photo dictionary, whatever they
Highway.
call that, they
Highway.
high. But I think that would mean a whole different thing in our
Pre-legalized
generation now.
cannabis, right?
So we did church on the highway. That would be completely different. 1960. This is our last one. 1965. We seek to restore the church of the blank blank. We seek to restore the church of the blank blank.
New Testament.
Wow, Elisha. Yes, that's right.
Wow. How did I get that?
That was so good. But again, another descriptive one. But it was missional. We seek to restore. Yeah. Because back in 1965, you were literally our non-restoration church or non-denominational church was starting to split in different fractions because the Church of Christ was kind of going in a different direction theologically, doctrinally. That's not a word, but that was probably why that was a thing, was seeking to restore the New Testament church.
Interesting.
So, well, that concludes that portion of the podcast, and you did great, like I knew you would. That's why I didn't tell you.
50-50.
So I think one thing that I wanted to talk about too is Jon talked about how relationships matter for better and worse.
Yeah, I mean that's
and you showed us a better.
Well, I mean the truth is the relationships in your life are going to make a huge difference one way or the other. And your relationships, relationships have the power in our life to lead us to or away from the relationship that matters the most. You know, I mean, that's probably, I mean, you know, you get caught up with the wrong crowd. You show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You know, I mean, there's lots of different ways to say it, but however you paint it, your relationships are a really formative part of your life.
Yeah. And I think your age guys that you guys are in are probably two of the biggest times. High school for sure, but when you're a young adult, you're almost a lot of times changing your friend groups because, Hayden, tell me, you got some friends that are sticking around the local town or some that are moving away to college.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it. I mean, and you get basically your whole life you're prepared with school and you're told what to do, and then as soon as you get out of school, nobody tells you what to do anymore.
Yeah.
So then you have some friends that are, you know, just now getting married or are already on their fourth kid. Mm-hmm. Once you have kids, it's hard to find friends. I mean, and hang out or find time to hang out with people. So you're always, your friend group at this age is always changing based on your life circumstances.
Yeah. And then so Elisha, your age group, middle schoolers, what's their friend stuff like?
Oh,
Relationships.
well, I'm glad you clarified that because I was thinking
Not
about
your specific.
like the age group that I am in myself. I'm not middle school age, just to clarify. But no, I work with middle school students that age. Yeah, they're really starting to form their identity.
Yeah.
And figuring out, you know, their interests, their personality, and really crafting who they are, and also trying to make their faith their own at that age. Because up to that point, if they have been raised in church, they've been going off of, you know, what they've been raised to believe. But when they reach this age, you know, cognitively, developmentally, they are able to ask deeper questions and they want to figure it out for themselves.
And you say they do ask those questions.
They do ask those questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
And I think the Yammers, that's another, they're asking a lot of those questions. You see that a lot on your Thursday nights, don't you, Hayden?
They're asking questions all the time.
Yeah.
Most people that go to my YAM are college-based kids. So they still have a little bit of the, it's easier to make friends when you have a place where you know friends are going to be. Yeah. Like when you have school, there's an opportunity every day for me to meet the same people and become friends. Once you lose that and you're out in the open, wild, it's harder to do that. So they're always asking questions.
You have to be more intentional.
You have to be more intentional, for sure.
And it really does matter who your friends are, I think.
At every age.
Yeah. And for you guys, that's super. You have to be intentional about your friend sets. In middle school, it's almost to the fact like what I'm involved in and where I go to school, that determines my friends.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then if you're asking those questions that they're asking at those ages, if you're asking them in the wrong people group, the wrong friends, you're going to get the wrong answers. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah. And I think especially starting in middle school, like that's when peer pressure actually starts to come into play. Like if I'm a 6th grader and there's 8th graders, like, oh, they're the cool kids. When you're in high school, same thing. College, same thing. Once you're out of school, peer pressure changes, like what it is. And like now once you're an actual out of college or whatever, the peer pressure becomes becoming an adult. Like, are you doing these things right? Are you doing this for your kids? Are you doing this in this community? You know what I mean? So I think that's a big part of it too.
Yeah. It's just, that's a big thing in relationships where there's just so much comparison negatively. And our hope is that maybe there's some comparison on the positive side. Like, hey, I see fruit in their life. What are they doing differently than what I'm doing that's producing that good fruit? And I think sometimes you could have good peer pressure. I think you see people that are going to church and their lives are different, or you see them raising their family differently from the world. That's a good type of peer pressure. And that's how we should be salt and light in the world. And tell us about a little bit of that coal too. I don't know if everybody tell us about that one.
So I just think it's such an interesting concept, and it's not mine. I got it from, I couldn't even tell you who.
Life.
But I mean, like, so a flame, when a flame is unprotected and it's out on its own, whatever, and wind comes, often it'll extinguish that flame.
Yeah.
But a coal differently has the same kind of heat, and it can look dormant. It can look cold from a distance, but oftentimes when the wind comes, it will reignite the flame in that. Also, another interesting concept about the coal is that the more coals that are bunched together, the longer they can retain their heat, and the more easily they can be reignited into flame. And so I think thinking of our church and this community in the sense of a pile of coals, it's just kind of a different sort of a mindset. But we weren't meant to be extinguished when the wind comes, when the hard time blows. But the heat inside of us is meant to be revealed. Like what's inside of us is fanned into flames sometimes by the adversity. Yeah,
because I think your key thing there that is different than another heat source or another light source. The heat comes from within. It doesn't come like it's and again, I think it's a good one. Read before you read Psalm 18:28. I want you to read that for us. Okay. That'll be our transition in just a second. I want you to guys tell me, what is your grill of choice at your home? You're grilling. Are you grilling with propane? Are you grilling with coals like barbecue, whatever those called?
Charcoal.
Thank you, charcoal. Or are you grilling?
That's great.
Or
somebody needs to come up with that.
I think John knows. John, yours is okay. Go ahead. Tell me what ours. We don't. I'll start. We don't have one. We had a propane, which I like propane because to me it's the cleanest. But we just stopped using it. It was just collecting stuff, and we got rid of it because it. Yeah. But I think I'm ready to get one again. The kids are getting a little older. I can get outside more now. Hayden, what do you use?
Propane. I only have a Blackstone, but against popular whatever, I do not like it.
Oh,
it is too difficult to clean. It's always it is.
Oh, you just scrape it?
Yes, and I just don't like how it sits. I don't know. I'm just not a fan. It doesn't retain heat on top. It's only coming from the bottom. It's only cooking it on one side.
Oh, wow.
So.
There's a sermon illustration.
Go ahead, Elisha. Get the pressure off of me.
Our grill is propane, but I'm not really picky. Yeah. I mean, I love grilling. I love eating grilled food, so I've had all kinds. But ours is propane.
Okay.
Sorry about the Blackstone.
John, what's your favorite?
Blackstone. I just think, I don't know. There's so many things you can do with it that you can't do with a great grill, a GRATE, not EAT. But like, there's just like smash burgers and all. I mean, from burgers and grilled cheese to hibachi shrimp and chicken. Yeah, I mean, like it's just it's a pretty versatile.
And as you've told us many times, you're a burger guy. So
I'm a burger guy.
So and you're a smash burger guy. Would that be your choice?
Lately, it would be, I think.
Yeah, I'm a double patty smash.
Oh, yeah.
That's for sure.
Okay.
I'm not going to ask you guys. We'll just move on. Ready? Transition. I told you it's coming up. Psalm 18:28.
Psalm 18:28. Lord, you provide the flame for my lamp. You, God, turn the darkness around me into light. And so even as we're in the midst of a dark situation or the darkness of our culture, which is so very obvious, I think it's important for us to realize that the light that we have is not, in fact, ourselves, the source of that light. You, God, are the flame for my lamp. He's the one that gives that flame. So who are we to hoard that flame? I mean, like the design of it, he gives comfort so that we can give comfort. He gives strength so that we can give strength. And we do this in context of relationships. But I mean, like, he gives it so that we can in turn give it.
Yeah. And it was a perfect illustration to light those flames. Who did you ask anybody before? I want to know this thought process because we've had this building for 20 years, right?
Right.
Yeah. And Randy has always said there will be no flames in this building. Thus, we've always had these battery-powered lights at Christmas time, which you've said is one of your favorite times, doing Silent Night. Elisha, I think you've said that too. One of your favorite things is doing, maybe not, Silent Night. She's gonna be like, but tell us, let's do it. Let's go for it.
So Hayden could probably tell you. It's kind of been on my radar for a long time. I've wanted to do, real candles, but kind of always been shut down. But then they gave me this new role, and so I mean, there's just
I could see the elders like coming in. Hey, John, what do you want to do with this lead pastor role? Number one,
real candles.
Real candles.
I mean, like let's look at the facts, right? Our carpet has holes, and it's all pulled. I mean, we're not going to ruin the carpet. We're not going to ruin the pews. It's just they're in rough shape as it is. But for this particular
it's such a good
example,
element.
You can't really have a battery-powered thing. It's got to be a real live flame that's passed from person to person to person, because that is the example. I mean, that's relationships matter most played out in front of our eyes.
Yep. So let's talk middle school and YAM. Okay, let's ladies go first.
I did text my buddy on the fire department though.
Perfect.
And
I
asked,
knew you would have
legally are we covered? You're
talking
concerns here.
800 flames in there at least. 800 little flames. Speaking of 800 little flames, middle school. Talk about a little bit, Elisha, where you're at now, and give us some good stories. Where have you seen God move lately in your ministry? I know you've got some big things coming up, especially that our daughters are going to be part of. So tell us about it.
Yeah. Well, we are at the end of April, and we really only have 1 month left until students promote.
And tell us when that is.
Here at Central, promotion weekend is the first weekend in June every year. And so on that weekend, the first weekend in June, all students will move up and promote to their next grade level area. So for some students, they'll be in the same area. If you're in 7th grade and you're going to 8th grade, you're still in Ignite, middle school ministry. But for some, that will look like them being in a whole different area of our church. And so as we look at the next 4 weeks or so that we have left, we are going to be celebrating our 8th grade graduates. We always have a special graduation celebration on their last Sunday with us, which would be Memorial Day weekend. So we'll have that on that Sunday, and we are also just trying to be intentional with the time that we have left with our students. And one of the ways that we're doing that is in our small group time. This past month, we've actually been in a series that has been mostly student-led, It's called Q&A, question and answer. And we've done this series for probably at least 4 years that I remember, 4 years in a row. And it's pretty self-explanatory. Students submit their questions, and then we try our best to answer them according to what our source of truth, the Bible, says. And it's been really interesting for me because I don't have to really be the one that speaks. I mean, they're used to seeing me speak during lesson time, but it really empowers the students whenever you allow them to really do their own homework and then present it to their peers. And I always think that students listen better to students than they do to adults anyways. So
not only are they posing the questions, they're
also
for the
answering
answers.
them. So actually, this Sunday is our last Sunday. We're wrapping up this series and answering questions about heaven. And so we have 4 students who will be on stage answering some of those questions.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Is that why you sent that pre and post millennial article? Were you doing a little research?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You sent that
probably
to our staff, and I was like, this is out of nowhere. But I know for her it wasn't.
I know that people think, there's all kinds of stereotypes about middle schoolers. But if you really want to know, the questions that they're asking, come sit in on a middle school small group, because they are asking questions that you probably wouldn't expect a middle schooler to ask. They're whether or not they outwardly show it, they are truly soaking up everything around them, and what they see on television, what they hear from their peers or their parents, and they're just trying to make sense of it all. They're just trying to sort through it all, and we just want to make sure that we're doing our part, as their spiritual leaders and mentors, to come alongside them and help them navigate what really is true.
Yeah. Tell us about Mix. coming up?
So our summer trip mix is coming up in July, and it's a summer conference for junior high students. It's a week-long conference put on by CIY, Christ in Youth. And this will be our second year going. Our first year was last year. It was great. It's really just a week filled with worship, small group time, tons of games. Mix is, I would say, from my experience, I used to serve in high school ministry years ago, and I have attended the CIY move, is what they call it, for high school students. So going on Mix last year, I kind of was able to compare, and I would say they're very similar experiences, with the differentiator being that Mix is really intentional on games and fun. I mean, middle schoolers are very active little humans, and they learn best through interactive activities. And games is a big part of that. So it really is a week full of fun, but there is also that small group intentional time that's happening all throughout the week.
That's really good. Any wins you want to tell us about?
Well, really, the win I came in here thinking I was going to tell you about, I actually already told you about, was our Q&A series. Has just been really, really cool for me to watch, not just from the stage, students explaining why they believe what they believe about their faith, but
huge.
also in small group time. I've just heard some really good conversations have come forth from some of our small group leaders that have told me, hey, we had some really interesting conversations this week, and so-and-so student asked a really good question, and it sparked a conversation that we didn't see coming. And I just think it's always a win anytime that you can see students not only participating, but like wanting to participate and be engaged in those types of conversations.
Yeah, that's huge. And you've really got some good leaders right now.
We do,
I
yeah.
think. So give a shout out to them.
Shout out middle school leaders. You know who you are. I don't have time to list them all, but they really are wonderful, wonderful people. And a lot of them have been around for several years.
And that's so key to those
And
kids.
that says something if you're going to work with middle school students, that you would be willing to do that. And I also just think it's just a testament to how important it truly is to invest in this age group.
Yeah, super good. All right, we're going to go up a couple years. Young adults 18 to 54.
Not quite. I haven't bumped it up that high yet.
He keeps every couple years. I
got to keep myself in a job.
It's going to be 18 to whatever Hayden is.
Yeah, exactly. What was your first question you want me to answer?
Just tell us about what you're doing right now and how's God been working in your life and your ministry lately.
Okay. YAM 2023 has been the best that it's been since I've been
I think so too, yeah.
the young adult pastor. Not saying ever, but since I've taken over. In 2023, our word of the year is depth. Each month, we're diving into a specific word. So this month, it's character, depth in our character. And the students, the young adults, whoever they are, have really bought into that. And our conversations have been better than they have been in a long time. Our numbers are growing. And I think there's actual retention coming from the things that and applying what we're learning in our group discussions, which is really great.
And you've basically, when you're talking about your Thursday group that happens 6 o'clock on Thursdays in the center, that's mostly that age is mostly your college age, right?
College aged, I would say. We have a couple that are my age, 26, 27. Most of them are in the realm of 21 to 24.
Yeah. And tell us what, I think there's a prayer walk that was super, I know there was a prayer walk because I was in it.
Yeah.
Tell us about the prayer walk.
So prayer walk's been a thing that I believe this is our fourth prayer walk that we've had. And I try to always have one in the spring, one in the fall, always when it's cold, obviously. That's really important, cold and rainy. But it's something that's been on my heart to do. And every time that we've done a prayer walk, something really cool has come from it and been associated with it. It's prayer is such, you cannot undervalue what prayer does, especially the 24-hour part. Like for at least 1 hour, somebody's walking the church for 24 hours and just covering. There was prayer posts that have suggestions, but I guarantee people were praying about other things, which is great. So just lots of wins in prayer walk.
Tell us about a couple of those in the past.
You want me to tell them, or do you want to tell them? You're better at telling them than me.
No, go ahead.
So the first real win that I remember from a prayer walk, we were praying about on our north side of our campus. There used to be abandoned buildings. One was a laundromat, one was a house. We were needing parking, and we had nowhere to park people, but there was a hiccup in purchasing the building because of whatever. So one of the prayer posts was to pray for that spot. God would make a way for us to get the building. By the next prayer walk, it had been demolished and was a gravel parking lot, and that's just super cool. The next one, our ministry building on our west side of campus had been underused, I would say.
Yeah.
A good building that lots of things could happen in. Nothing was really going on in the building. We prayed for something to happen. A local church here in town, they had a fire in their church, so they moved into that church for a while and used it. And I think that's super cool that, speaking of relationships, that can happen church to church as well, and that we were willing, and they were willing to ask one, and that we were willing to get them in there. And then God was moving in a building on our campus that wasn't being used. So.
Yeah, and that really shows the community too. That I mean, the different communities that we have, different churches, but yet that's just a side note. I just feel there's connectivity between the churches like never before in this community. I just see great positive crossover relationships, and where maybe one church is lacking here, another church picks up here, and it's just I don't know, it's just a lot of fruit coming from even just simple stuff like that. And I know that. There's this last prayer walk. We're going to share a little bit about that in a couple weeks of some growth that we see happening from that, and some big things that we feel God is moving us in some directions. And we're excited to talk about that in a couple weeks in this Build This House series. So tell us about what's next for YAM.
The next thing that YAM is, I guess, would be hosting would be our date night.
Yeah.
If you are... Basically, there's no age limit on this. Basically, if you have kids or just need a night out, a free night out with your spouse or significant other,
At no cost, Brian.
At no cost. That's what free is. You just have to sign up for it. We'll watch your kids if you have kids for an hour, and basically we provide the food. We provide everything for you. I think it's very important that we get used to being a church being a safe space.
Yeah.
And if you I want you to get close to your significant other, your spouse, and they need to especially do that in church. So that's just, young adults are in an age where they can serve. They don't always have answers to hard questions. They don't always have whatever, but they are in a season of life where they are able to serve, and they can, and this is how I would like to use them for your sake. So if you want to, I believe it's May 25th. It's a week after school ends, so you're probably tired of your kids by now getting out of school, so you can drop them off. We'll provide the date. We'll feed them supper and feed you supper, and you'll get to reconnect more with your spouse.
Yeah, check that out. That'll be on our website, and then the URL for that will be next week. We'll have that ready to go.
Right.
centralnow.com/date night. We put that on the website with the URL. We're going to do that this time. I already created the QR code, but really, it just speaks to that speaks to communities within the church, groups within the church serving other groups, which is super important to have that relationship. That I don't want to say symbiotic relationship. That's probably not the best, but like just a give and the take. Like, okay, these younger adults are going to serve these older adults, and these older adults are doing different things that younger adults couldn't do. Like a lot of times, Hayden, you want to do more ministry for those married couples. Tell us a little bit about what you hope to do with that. Are you doing a 9:15 coming up again?
It's not on the schedule as of now, but I would like to do that. When you say young adult, like I said, it encompasses so much. Like you could be in so many different seasons of life. So a Thursday night is not easy to do if you have kids. Especially if it's at 6. My kids go to bed at 7. So I mean, I get in bed early. So like you're in supper time, you're in bedtime. So like getting out and then going back home is just not a viable option for you. So I've hosted 9:15 studies before where you can just drop your kids off at Kid Depot, come up and study with people going, maybe not the same age as you, but going through the same thing, which is sometimes more important. Yeah.
Because I mean, you've got 22-year-olds with 4 kids, and you've got 30-year-olds with 1 kid.
Yeah.
But I think those are very similar life circumstances, and you can learn similar lessons, especially when you're gathering around other people and you're gathering around the Bible. So good job, guys. Thanks for taking the time, giving us
One
a little...
side note, Centralia, Pennsylvania. Are you going to mention that?
Oh, the fire?
Centralia, Pennsylvania.
Underneath.
I know what you're talking about. No,
Yeah.
but
I just figured that's the coal fire.
I know that's a because how long did it burn?
It's still burning.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. 1963 till now.
Honestly, I did not.
Still
know that.
going on.
All because of a brush fire on top caused, and it's just internally it's on fire.
I did not know that.
But I don't know if it's the best summer illustration because the town is abandoned. And
I'm not saying it is. I just know that's hometown for hometown.
It's in Pennsylvania. Yeah. So
Homestead.
here's what I want
It
to
is
do.
a near ghost town.
Yeah.
is what it
I think
says.
there's only like a couple residents there. because they've just started tearing things down. I just watched a documentary called Abandoned, if you want to check it out on YouTube. This is not brought to you by them, but so here's the deal. Middle school, just to reiterate, they meet at 9:15 for a Bible study and then 11 for their worship service.
Yes.
Over in the Student Worship Center.
Correct.
Which is off of 12th Street, the church on the highway. 10th Street, thank you. And then YAM, they meet right now, Thursday nights at 6 o'clock in the center.
Correct.
And I just really I do appreciate you guys' time. I know this is a busy Friday, but it's important for us to sit down. And John, I told you this is a defining ministry sermon. And I think a lot of times there'll be a lot of pieces that will be pulled from this talk into a lot of different stuff coming up for years, I think, to come.
Yeah.
So just put this on your heart. If you haven't watched it, you can watch it on the YouTube page, or you could even just, if you're on a podcast, switch over to the podcast and just watch the sermon listen to the sermon in its entirety. Anything else you guys got?
No, thanks, Jared.
Okay.
Thanks,
Next
Jared.
week, episode 62 in Big House, we're going to be looking at week 4, and it's going to be about marriage.
Marriage.
That's right. But not to be confused with the sermon from February 14th.
No,
What's
different.
your angle on marriage, John?
I don't want to let the cat out of the bag.
You're going to do it. I beat to it. Alicia just gives us looks.
She's a cat lady. She loves cats.
Yes, I
How many
am.
cats do you have, Alicia?
4.
Currently.
We'll talk about it next week.
Marriage next week. Make sure to like or whatever you do on those podcast providers to show some love. And Hayden's going to be dropping more episodes of Leading Young coming soon. Coming soon. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you back here next week. And if you haven't had a chance, say bye to somebody and hi.
Nice.
Oh, we didn't even talk about guest services. We ran out of time. We're going to talk about guest services next time, Hayden. It's still recording.
Oh.
I put it back on because I was going to work on this ending. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye-bye.